Hi, I'm Chris McCarville, and welcome to the Rockhouse Instructional Series for bass. This one's called New Dimensions, and it features Doug Wimbish, whose career spanned over 20 years of innovating all kinds of wacky stuff for bass. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Doug just before we start. And Doug's career really began playing in the house band for Sugar Hill Records, which was a legendary rap label back in the 80s. He played for bands like Grandmaster Flash, Furious 5, and in that house band he also hooked up with Skip McDonald, who plays guitar, and drummer Keith LeBlanc. These guys hooked up with Adrian Sherwood, who is a British dub, industrial, post-jazz, crazy modern nutcase who did all kinds of cool stuff, and they eventually went on to form Tackhead. And these guys ripped up the British music scene really all the way from the dance floor all the way on up to the top. They also influenced a lot of rap, industrial dub, post-punk, and acid jazz kind of music. Currently, Doug plays bass for the outrageous and insanely cool band Living Colour. He's also recorded with the Who's Who's list of musicians, everyone from Madonna, one of my favorites, Annie Lennox, also Mick Jagger, Rolling Stones, Ron Wood, Seal, Jeff Beck, the list goes on and on and on and on. Also, this program, like all the other DVDs, come with free online lesson support. All you have to do is go to the DVD's main menu to get directions on how to get hooked up, and you'll be all set. I'm going to give the reins over to Doug now, and you'll see what kind of bass god this dude truly is. Hey, we got Doug with us now, and we're going to talk about the New Dimensions bass DVD. Doug, what are you going to be showing us today?
Well, today we're going to go over a few techniques. We'll talk about how to construct and come up with some bass lines. We'll go through some of the gear, crazy stuff that I got here.
You do have some crazy stuff.
I got a few crazy things over here. And basically, you know, a couple of scales, a few things. You guys know those things. But basically, we're going to have a good time today, and that's the key. So get ready and let's have some fun.
Yeah. Doug will show you the first lesson coming up, and he's going to play us out of here. Just remember, the bass is never too loud.
That's right. Get ready, y'all. What we're going to do right now is tune our bass. So first and foremost, you're going to start with the G string. Check it out. Here's the G string, tune up. Here's the D string. Here's the A string. Here's the E string. Now we should all be in tune. What's up, y'all? Here we go again. I'm going to cover a little groundwork for you guys right now. When I start to play, I like to warm up a little bit sometimes before I'm doing gigs and stuff like that. Anyway, what I do to warm up is some scales, simple scales. Here's a simple G major scale that I do, starting on the 3rd fret of the E string. Check this out. Then I usually go descending G major scale. Key. What I do now is I'll do some minor scales, leaving it right in the key of G. Check it out. Descending. Now, the reason why I do this is to warm up, get my mind into what I'm getting ready to do, and also understanding the root of what's going on. As a bass player, we have a role to be able to hold the fort down, as I say. So basically a key to holding the fort down is playing some good octaves. Check this out. G octave, C octave, D octave, E octave, A octave, B octave, C octave, F octave, G octave. Simple as it may be, those are some of the roots you need to know. What I'm going to show you right now is some simple scales. When I was coming up, a friend of mine, partner in crime, Skip McDonald, was actually the guy that showed me some of my first scales. And he showed me a scale in thirds. So I'm going to show it to you. G major scales in thirds, something like this. Descending. That's the G major scale in thirds. Yes, this section is about the role of the bass player. And I want y'all to say hello to Will Calhoun, drummer extraordinaire. And basically the role of the bass player is very important. It's very important to understand the pulse, understand spacing and time, dynamics, and basically where to play your notes at. How to play with the drummer, how to play with the hi-hat, bass drum, and the snare drum. So to do that, I want Will to play the beat one more time. And I'm going to show some examples of how I can play along with the bass, snare, and hi-hat. Check it out. I'm listening to that bass drum right now. Little snare drum is in my bass line. With the hi-hat. Yeah. Yes, very, very, very important to listen to the drummer. He's got all the beats. And all of this stuff is available on the website, so you can download all these beats, download the bass lines, but the key is practice, practice, practice. It's in your book, and that's the end of that. Welcome back. Say hello to Will Calhoun one more time. He's helping me out here. This section is about right hand variations. What I want to show you, basically I want to show you what I was doing on this song here. Check it out. I use my right hand a lot of different ways. One way is I actually use this finger that I'm pointing at you right now. I try to use it as a drumstick. And what I do is I try to actually strike the end of the neck with my right hand with the pointer finger like this. This is really good because you can hit 3 or 4 strings at the same time, so it's really, really cool. I call that my little drumstick technique. The other thing I'm doing is I'm strumming, and when I strum sometimes I'll use my nails, the back of the nails. So I'm striking it with the back of my nails to get that kind of effect. So I have drum effect, strum effect. Then I'm also incorporating some thumb action in there. To help spell some of the chords out better. So it's like this. So here's all three of them again. Drumstick effect, back of the nails, thumbing it. And all of this is in the book. Let's play it out one more time, Will.
2, 3.
Check it. So we just went over a little bit of right hand technique, and I was playing the song Torn with Will. And I'm going to do the same thing with some effects that I use, which is very essential to my whole groove and stuff like that. What I'm going to do is use some wah-wah, some flanger, and some delay to play the same song to give it some color and some flavor. So check it out. I'm going to start off with a little bit of delay just to set some tempo. So it'll be like 1, 2, just a little love. This section is about false harmonics, and how I actually play false harmonics is really interesting. Check this out. Start with the A string up an octave, hit it on the 12th fret. Now what I try to do is I use my finger here as a pointer, and I try to actually go right over like the first pickup, and I hit the string lightly with my thumb, and I touch the actual string with my pointer finger at the same time while I'm holding down the note. So it'll be like this. And I move it around till I get these different harmonic notes to come up. So once again, I'm plugging with my thumb, but I'm pointing out the harmonic notes with my pointer finger of the right hand. And as you move farther back, closer to the bridge, you almost get like a reverse scale going on, kind of like. You get these bell tones. Same thing with the D string, octave up. So on and so forth. So I have a song I've done. It's called Still I Try. I've done it with Will. And we're going to demonstrate it for you right now using this false harmonic technique. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you have it. Here are some false harmonics with some effects. Check it out. 2, 3, 4. There you have it. This section is on creating bass lines. And the first kind of grooves we're going to get into is going to be some hip hop grooves. And what I'm going to do right now is just let Will play a beat, and then I'm going to try and play a real kind of like laid back bass line to it. So check this out. Hit him off, Will. Now, what I was doing there was trying to play as less amount of notes as possible against that groove. And what I was actually playing was almost like just like a groove in the key of G, playing the 5th and playing the 7th. That's all I was doing. G, D, F. And then add a little couple of touches in between there, and usually for hip hop, that's all you need. Less is more. So that's the key on that. Now, let's construct a rock bass line. Take it away, Will. Now, what I was trying to do there was playing with the pulse, just keeping the 8th note grooves going on pretty much all the way down. And what I was playing was basically it's like A, E, C, E, A, E, C, E, really simple. Whoops. Something like that. That's a simple rock bass line. Right now, I'm going to construct a funk bass line. This is from some old funky Sugar Hill stuff, so check this out. 1, 2, 3. There you have it. Now what I was doing there was just digging into the groove. I'm like trying to like rip the strings off basically, but funk grooves are attacking. It's like a whole kind of like attack kind of like feel. And what I was doing was this. I was just playing a C groove, just playing C, B flat, and G over and over, like some accents. With funk is syncopation, a lot of syncopation, a lot of like just start and stops going on. And that really is one of the key elements to funk, just diving in, attacking, giving the right space and repetition. So, and all of these grooves and all these beats that Will's playing, it's available online. Go to the website, download the stuff, you can practice it, and come up with your own bass lines, your own grooves. So that's what's going on. Let's hit it one more time, Will. This section here is on what I call the flamenco slap. It's something that I pretty much came up with. And it's very, very useful. What it is, it's like you have regular, plucking and thumping, which Larry Graham came up with. Thumb and index finger popping up. And what I did was I just looked at the strings one day and said, interesting. And I ended up incorporating the actual drumstick effect, that happening. But what I did was I ended up taking my thumb, and what I do is I put my thumb with the nail facing the body of the bass, right between the first pickup and the end of the neck. And what I do is I pluck up, as opposed to thumping down, I'm plucking up. So let's just say I'm playing in G. I hit a G on the E string, and I'll do a simple exercise for y'all. Check this out, it's just plucking up with your thumb going like that. So it's like this. Start off like that, simple quarter notes. Then I incorporate my index finger, just slapping. I'm almost thinking like a drummer. This was inspired by drummers. So that's very, very, very easy. Well, listen, I wouldn't say it's easy, but this is kind of like how I started to approach this effect. And what happens is this: as you learn it and work with it more and more, you build some speed. You can do stuff like this. Now I'm going to play a bass line using the flamenco slap, and I'm going to play it for you really slow at first. And once again, this will be available in the tab of your book. Check it out. I'll try and do it as slow as possible. And I'm going to be playing G, B flat, A, C, then G, B flat, A, D. I'll try and give it to you like this. Now I'm going to put it into real time with Mr. Calhoun. We're going to play it a little bit faster. Check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to do the flamenco slap, adding a few effects to it. Basically, I'm going to be using the envelope filter on this one. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. This part of the show, as they say, I'm going to make my bass sound like some different instruments real quick. And what I'm going to do at first is use a glass on my bass, preferably a shot glass. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottom end of the shot glass, and I'm going to use it to rub against the strings here, like a slide. And with that, you can actually do some interesting things. Check this out. I'll sound like a DJ real quick, scratching. Now, let's see what it sounds like with the drummer hitting it with me. Come on, Will, check it out. Give me a straight beat. That's the scratching effect. Now I'm going to take the same shot glass here and I'm going to add some effects to what I'm doing. And we're going to try and see how we can contour the sound a little bit. Check it out. We'll start off with using some flanger, a little bit of delay, and some distortion to add to the same thing. So the distortion first. Little delay. Now, envelope filter. Little drums. This part, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make my bass sound like a drum. I'm going to try and emulate a drummer with the bass. Actually, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to try. Anyway, what I try to do is this. I use the E string as the bass drum, thumping it, but muting it with my left hand. So it's like this. And then I'll use the G string to pop it with my index finger, with the pointer finger right here, to give me a snare drum sound. Now I'm going to do the same thing using some effects. What works good with this is when you have a gated reverb or some kind of reverb when you add to the effect. Check this out. Sounds like this. Will, hit me off. Now comes the time when I make my bass sound kind of like a keyboard, sort of like or like a keyboard. What I'm going to do to get that effect is I'm going to use some false harmonics, plucking the notes out like what we went through before, and I'll just play some chords and some different variations. Check this out. I'm going to be using my thumb and my index finger to point out some of the notes. Be something like this. What I did with that was I was using my pickups to give me a little bit more sound with that. rolling the pickups to the rear pickup helps give you a little bit more articulation with the harmonic notes. So that's a little key to that. What I'm going to do now is make my bass sound like a guitar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the false harmonics again at first with no effect. Then I'm going to add a distortion pedal, and I'm going to use what is a whammy pedal, which is basically take stuff up an octave. Sounds a little something like this. Check this out. Distortion. Now, just to explain a little bit of all that madness I was just doing, basically, here's the riff I was doing to make it make sense. Once again, octaves, fifths, root, fifth octave, the same thing. It's like. There's your octave, A octave, A fifth. And I'm using the harmonic technique to actually spell the notes out, so it gives you some kind of like range to it. I'm incorporating that technique into this line. And let's talk about some of the pedals I just used. To give me a little more grittiness to it, distortion. You take that, you add some flanger to it, to the distortion. You add those two and add some pitch bend stuff from the whammy pedal. Add some wah-wah to that, and it's like this. What I do sometimes is I incorporate the delay pedal to give me some extra love, which basically just delays what I'm doing. So that does that. And the combinations are what really makes everything come to life. It's like I try not to just leave one effect on. I'm constantly changing the sound. And when you do that, you don't get set into one fixed thing. That's how the ideas keep happening. A lot of people tend to, what I notice, they get into this whole perfection system, and life ain't perfect. Life is definitely full of holes and stuff. So I try to punch holes in my sound as much as possible to bastardize it. So when I try to just approach it without fear. Just make it happen, man. You'll make mistakes in life, but the only way you're going to come up with some good grooves is by experimenting. It's the only way it happens. So don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to turn somebody's head. And don't be afraid to just play, man. Let your heart come out in the music. And that's what I do. These effects are just tools. I'm the effect. Peace. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same line I was doing before, and I'm going to add my effects to it, which is delay, reverb, hold pedals of envelope filter, flanger, wah-wah pedal, distortion, the kitchen sink, and everything else. Check it out. I'm going to build a whole thing going on here. It's going to sound a little something like this. There you have it. What I'm going to do now is take a song, a traditional song, House of the Rising Sun, and I'm going to convert it into Doug Wimbish world. And, you know, how do you get there? What I do is when I'm taking certain songs, I'm actually assembling a lot of ideas and information from my experiences in playing different music, jazz, rock, funk, hip hop. And a lot of times I try to use the energy of certain styles to translate what I'm doing. For example, I'll play the actual original bass line to House of the Rising Sun. It starts off like this. that's the basic fundamentals of the song. It's basically a blues. What I'm going to do now is incorporate some of my ideas and styles into that pattern and convert it into something that feels comfortable for me. And you got to do the same thing too. It's basically you get a lot of information from listening to a lot of different things. And the key is to be able to keep your ears open. You know, don't be a communist when it comes to the music. Stay focused and try and keep your ears open so that you can actually accept all the different things that are out there for you. It's a lot of music, a lot of good music. So for example, what I'm going to do now is play that same bass line, but you know, try and put it into my kind of style. Check this out. 1, 2, 3. What I was doing there was I was trying to play a few variables of some of the things we were going over today. Some of the things I was doing was some octaves. I was incorporating that, and that's just basic, you know, roots and fundamentals of bass playing right there. I was also going for trying to actually startle the bass line a little bit by spanking it up a little bit, doing stuff like this. That once again is my drumstick effect. We're using that finger and, you know, tapping on the neck, playing octaves just to give me more dynamics, give me more pop and punch coming out of it. And I was doing a lot of just octaves and tenths, stuff like that. Also using the flamenco style in it. So using that effect was working well with that song. Basically, it's just combining all the different vibes to kind of like come up with something that is molded for my kind of vibe. I like to do these bends, these bends where I'm actually hitting a G string like this, but hitting the F and sliding to the G. I call this my Jeff Beck effect. Stuff like that. So it's kind of like, it's a collage of different colors and effects that I was trying to put forth in this piece to keep me activated and to kind of like keep me challenged and coming up with some ideas, yet still holding the fort down, but making it exciting for the ears and for the listeners, hopefully. I enjoy it. I hope you do too. This is about coming up with some hip-hop bass lines. If you don't know, you will know now. I played on a lot of the original hip-hop recordings that basically started hip-hop. All the original Sugar Hill recordings I'm playing bass on. And it was a great experience and a great part of my life. Basically, it helped change the whole world because hip-hop brought fashion, brought culture, and it brought a whole group of people together. You know, everybody's dressing differently now, everybody's speaking differently now. The whole world has changed based on hip hop, and there hasn't been much real new music in quite some time, you know, in a long time that has had that effect. Everywhere we go, we can go to Germany and I see guys, b-boys with their hats turned backwards. It changed the whole world, quite honestly, and it changed me. Glad to have been a part of that. And I'm still working in that field as well, working with Mos Def, currently with myself and Will. Anyway, hip-hop bass lines. What I try to do when I'm coming up with a hip-hop bass line is I'm trying to actually get a good feel for myself. I try to find the space that helps articulate the singer, the rapper more or less, or the actual beats that are going on. So a lot of times I'm listening to myself and I'm telling myself, how can you play less as opposed to more? I start off playing less and I always end up adding more. But my main theme is to find a way to accompany and give a foundation for the beat, because the beat is hip hop. And that's the key thing, is understanding space and understanding how to come up with the kind of grooves that you'll need to develop hip hop bass lines. For example, Will, play a quick drum beat, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Now I'm listening to Will's drums right now, but I'm going to focus on his bass drum right now, and I'm going to come up with something that helps supplement that. Now flip the bass line. I'm going to play in between the notes. That was about 3 or 4 different variables of just off-the-cuff bass lines that we just came up right here. What I was trying to think about was how to accompany what Will's basically doing. So the key thing for me was to keep a pulse going, but what I did was I tried to come up with 3 or 4 different bass lines, and I tried to come up with something that was going to have repetition, space, dynamics, and just good old fun. So when you have a rapper, you need to have space for him. When the rapper is not rapping, you need to be able to keep the pulse going and maybe change the feel up a little bit. So hip hop is really about feel, but there's a discipline that comes with it too. And the discipline is being able to play the proper repetitive bass lines over and over and over again sometimes, but never giving up that groove. So that's one of the key elements to hip hop. Keep the fundamentals right, but never give the groove up. This basically is about mental preparation for shows, live shows, studio, gigs, blah, 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 blah. Really it's your attitude that gets you to the altitude that you want to go to. A lot of times there's things that you can do, but when you're trying to get certain gigs, those things that you do best aren't the things that are needed at the moment. A lot of times it's about being able to be accepted with a group of people and being able to work with a lot of different people in order for them to want to have you being on that gig. That's really a key, your attitude, your vibe, everything. Because if that's right, you can be molded and shaped into what that person needs for you to do for the gig. And that's really important. Yes, you have a lot of facilities that you can come and you can bring to that scenario, but at first you have to try and get that gig if you really want it. It's very, very important. So have patience, but basically be prepared. Talk less, listen more is always good, but don't be a yes man all the time. Nobody likes a person that's brown nosing somebody all the time. Be yourself, but try and be helpful and try and bring something to the table that when you're gone, somebody actually is missing you. And that's key. Your vibe is essential. So if you have a really good vibe, it's going to come out in your music. You know, your music is a reflection of your life. How you live, it comes out in your music. So if you live right, the music will be right. And if that's right, the music that you play and the people that you work with, it's going to sound better and better. So even before you play a note, it's your vibe. There's a lot of people that can play well, but their vibe doesn't suit the gig. And don't go to sleep with your stage clothes on, because they're gonna be wrinkled when you get up in the morning. Make sure you have definitions and clarity as far as what to do, when to do this, what to wear, what not to wear. If you're trying to get a gig, you know, be prepared. You know, come with everything in tune. Make sure your gear's working, and make sure you lock with the drummer. Make sure if you and the drummer are locked, that's two people that might have the gig right there. So really, it's not as much as the stuff that you can do, all the fancy licks and blah, 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 blah. You can park that for a minute. Some gigs that you might be going for might be working with a vocalist, working with female vocalists, working with male vocalists, working with duos, working with self-contained bands, bands with horn sections, percussionists. All of these things are, you're a key player. Bass player is the fundamental in the band. So make sure that your vibe is right, and make sure that your strength and your durability is there, because you got to be strong. Nothing's worse than playing with a weak drummer and a weak bass player. There's no band. It's disband. So it's very important to try and just, of course, be yourself, but try to actually adjust in order for you to get that gig. Then when you get the gig, you can go mad. At least you got the gig. I'm only joking, but the key is if you're trying to go for a gig, just be prepared, be yourself, talk less, listen more. Hopefully you'll get the gig.
three.